If you're involved in trucking, you've probably heard, well, a lot of this alphabet soup tossed around: UCR, IRP, and IFTA.
Mm-hmm.
And to many, these terms can sound like confusing jargon, maybe a bureaucratic maze, almost designed to test your patience. But today, we're cutting through all that. We're going to break them down. Plain English, giving you the shortcut to understanding what truly keeps those big rigs rolling smoothly.
Yeah, that's absolutely the goal because, for anyone navigating the world of interstate trucking, these aren't just some obscure rules you can ignore. If you sort of peer behind the curtain, you see they actually emerged from chaos.
Yeah.
Think about it at a time when every state really was its own little island for truckers. These agreements, they were born out of necessity. They're really a testament to the industry trying to create a more unified economic highway, you could say. So what we're really looking at are crucial regulations that actually simplify operations, even if sometimes they don't feel that simple on the surface.
Absolutely. So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to turn these seemingly complex acronyms into clear, actionable knowledge. We want you to understand exactly what they are, why they matter, and maybe most importantly, what you need to do to stay compliant, save time, and will avoid those hefty fines nobody wants. Ready? Let's get rolling. Okay, first up, let's demystify IFTA. That's the International Fuel Tax Agreement. Now, for truckers crossing state lines, this agreement, it was designed to be a pretty significant relief. Can you maybe paint a picture of the before IFTA era? Why was this thing so desperately needed?
Oh, it truly was a headache. I mean, before IFTA, a truck driver might literally have had to buy separate fuel
For
permits
every state.
for every single state they drove through. Yeah, just to handle their fuel taxes. Imagine the paperwork. Just a nightmare. The beauty of IFTA is that it's essentially a deal, right, between the U.S. states and Canadian provinces, created specifically to streamline those fuel tax payments. And its core benefit is, well, incredibly simple when you boil it down. Instead of filing dozens of reports, you file just one quarterly tax report
One report for everywhere.
for all the states and provinces you drove in.
Yeah.
And you pay your taxes based on the actual miles driven in each specific place. It just brings order to what was, frankly, pure chaos before.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a massive simplification. So practically speaking, what does a trucker actually need to do to get set up with IFTA?
Right. So you start by registering in your base state. That's, where your truck is primarily based. Then you get an IFTA license and those decals you see on trucks. You had to display those. But here's the really critical part, the bit that trips people up. You absolutely must keep meticulous records. All your fuel receipts, all your mileage.
The record keeping.
Exactly. And this is where your ELD, your electronic logging device, becomes such a game changer.
Right.
It automatically logs your mileage state by state, and it can often integrate with fuel card data too. So it turns what used to be this mountain of receipts into a digital snapshot, makes reporting much, much easier.
Okay, so we've covered what IFTA is, how it helps, but let's be real for a second. What's the biggest mistake truckers make with IFTA, and what are the actual consequences? Do our sources give any stark warnings?
They do, yeah, and it's a really critical point for any operator. Our research highlights a very clear warning, basically saying messing up IFTA can mean fines or even losing your authority.
Losing your authority,
Yeah,
right.
so this isn't just, a slap on the wrist. Getting IFTA wrong, whether it's bad records or late filing, can directly impact your ability to legally operate your truck. It really underscores how vital that accurate record keeping and timely filing actually are.
Okay, so with fuel taxes hopefully squared away, thanks to IFTA, let's shift gears. Let's talk about something just as fundamental: the actual license plate on the truck. For truckers, we're not talking about just any old plate, are we? This is the IRP, the International Registration Plan, sometimes called the super license plate, right? Because it lets you roam across multiple states without getting individual registrations for every single one.
Exactly right. And the key thing to understand here is who actually needs this. Generally, it's for trucks weighing over 26,000 pounds or those with 3 or more axles.
Okay.
If your truck falls into that category and you cross state lines, IRP is basically your best friend. It specifically saves truckers from that nightmare scenario of registering in every single state they pass through. And, dealing with what our sources call a pile of different permits. It's one plate, one system for your registration fees, doesn't matter how many state lines you cross.
That sounds like a huge burden lifted. So
Yeah.
how does the IRP system actually work in practice? Is it similar to IFTA in how you pay?
It is quite similar, actually. You register in your base state, again, where the vehicle is based, and then you pay fees based on the percentage of miles you've driven in each member jurisdiction, each state or province, just like with IFTA fuel taxes. Once you have it, that IRP plate, it really does act like your golden ticket for legally hauling freight across borders. It consolidates all those potential individual state registrations into one single cohesive system, makes cross-state travel infinitely simpler, at least from a regulatory standpoint.
Hmm. And what about the flip side? What happens if a trucker tries to, skirt the rules and operate without an IRP plate when they actually need one? Is that a risk worth taking?
Absolutely not. Our sources have a pretty pointed observation on this one, basically. No IRP, you could get hit with huge fines or even get your truck impounded.
Impounded. Ouch.
Yeah. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really clear these aren't optional fees you can just, hope to avoid. They're fundamental to legal operation. And the consequences for noncompliance can be severe. You could be facing not just a hefty fine, but the complete stoppage of your vehicle right there on the roadside.
Yeah.
That's a major disruption to any business.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about the third one then. UCR, the Unified Carrier Registration. This is one of those annual fees that, well, truckers just can't skip. I actually remember hearing a story. A new driver thought, I'm just a small owner-operator, maybe I can avoid this one. He got pulled over for just a routine check, and yeah, that small skip turned into a massive headache right there on the side of the road. Is that a common thing, and why is this fee so essential?
It's definitely a common scenario, unfortunately. And it really highlights why UCR is, well, non-negotiable. This fee plays a really vital role. It funds important safety programs all across the country, things like roadside enforcement, safety audits. As for who needs to pay, our research is very clear on this. It's for trucking companies and owner-operators who drive interstate across state lines, with trucks having a gross vehicle weight rating over 10,001 pounds.
Okay, so pretty much most commercial interstate operations.
Exactly. And to your point about small operators, our sources specifically emphasize even if you're a small fleet or an owner-operator, you're not off the hook.
Yeah.
This applies really broadly to anyone operating commercially across state lines. It's kind of a shared responsibility, to fund these critical safety initiatives.
Right, so it's a mandatory annual payment, contributes to the industry's overall safety infrastructure. What does this annual fee typically look like? Is it expensive?
Well, for the cost, it's actually pretty straightforward. It depends on the number of commercial motor vehicles you operate in interstate commerce. For example, our source mentioned, if you have just one truck, it's around $76 per year, something like that.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad for a year.
No, and if you have more trucks, the fee does go up, naturally. But it's generally not by a prohibitive amount. It usually remains a manageable annual cost for most carriers.
And since you mentioned that roadside headache earlier, what's the direct consequence of skipping this UCR fee? Is it something they genuinely check for out there on the road?
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just some abstract fee you pay from your office and forget about. Our source material has a very clear warning for anyone thinking of skipping it. They basically say skipping UCR can lead to big fines during roadside inspections.
Right there on the spot.
Right there on the spot. This means it can directly impact you when you're out there, facing a weigh station or just a routine DOT inspection. It's really not something you can just hope to get away with. They check.
Okay, so we've navigated the alphabet soup, UCR, IRP, and IFTA. Let's try and bring it all together now. What does this all really mean for you, the listener? Why do these pieces of regulation truly matter for your operation day to day?
Yeah, ultimately, I think it all boils down to three key reasons that really stand out from our sources. And they're about much more than just, avoiding trouble. First, obviously, it's about staying legal. Ignoring these rules means, well, big trouble, fines, impounded trucks, or even losing your authority. That's the stick.
Right.
But second, and this is crucial, it's about saving time and money. Think about it. Instead of that mountain of paperwork and needing potentially dozens of state registrations and permits, you get one registration, one plate, one fuel report. Our sources say it means no more headaches with multiple state rules. It streamlines things.
That's the carrot then. Makes life easier.
Exactly. And finally, it's actually about paying fair taxes and fees. It ensures you only pay for the miles and fuel you actually use in each state, or pay fees based on your fleet size. These agreements, fundamentally, they simplify what would otherwise be incredibly complex multi-state operations.
Those benefits are huge when you put it like that. Okay, and to help you put all of this into action, let's share some practical final tips for truckers. First one, keep good records. Seems obvious, but it's critical. This means saving every fuel receipt, logging every single mile accurately. And remember, as our sources point out, apps make this easy. You don't have to rely on just pen and paper anymore. Technology is your friend.
Absolutely. Leverage that technology. Don't make it harder than it needs to be.
Right. Second tip, know your deadlines. This is huge. Mark your calendar for renewals. A quick cheat sheet from our research. UCR and IRP equals yearly, IFTA quarterly.
Hmm.
These are non-negotiable dates. Missing them just causes problems, so stay on top of them.
Mm-hmm. Set reminders, whatever it takes.
Exactly. And finally, if you're ever confused, if you have questions, and it's okay if you do ask for help,
Mm-hmm.
your state's DMV or maybe a dedicated trucking service company, they can provide the guidance you need. Don't try to navigate all this alone if you're unsure. There are resources specifically designed to help you out.
Yeah, that's great advice. To reiterate, while UCR, IRP, and IFTA might seem complicated when you first encounter them, they are fundamentally about keeping your truck legal on the road.
Yeah.
And perhaps more importantly, in the long run, making your life simpler once you understand the systems. Once you get the hang of them, they really do simplify rather than complicate your operations across state lines.
Absolutely. I think mastering these regulations, it isn't just about compliance, about checking boxes. It's really about unlocking smooth sailing in this complex world of interstate trucking. It genuinely frees up your mental bandwidth, right? Lets you focus on the road, on your business, on what you actually do best rather than being constantly bogged down by these regulatory worries. The real aha moment, I think, is realizing how these rules, which seem complex at first, actually simplify your journey in the end. They allow you to drive with more confidence and hopefully a bit more peace of mind.